Greetings, Saints, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Barbara Dean Franklin Show. I am your host, Barbara Dean Franklin, and today I have the awesome pleasure of sitting with my girlfriend, Versandra Kennebrew. Welcome, Versandra.
Hey!
Versandra has so many titles and hats that she wears. I will have to talk a little bit about her. I'm going to just read her shortened bio from the back of her book, The Art of Reinventing You. Versandra Kennebrew reinvented herself after losing everything and becoming homeless. She got back up, went back to school to become a self-improvement teacher, wrote her memoir, Thank God for the Shelter, and today she is coaching clients who are ready to experience exponential growth in their lives. She is helping people all over the world ignite their imagination. So again, welcome to the show. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to sit down and speak with me.
Sure.
So let's start with thank God for the shelter, because if you lost everything and then you became homeless, I think that's a good starting point.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about the Thank God for the Shelter. This is your book.
Right.
Okay. She also has a DVD. Right. And then I like this one. This is an audio book.
Right.
And you call it
Empowertainment.
Empowertainment.
Yes.
So let's talk about the book, then tell me what the concept of empowertainment is.
Okay, for sure. Well, the book is a memoir, and it's basically sharing the experience, what it took for me to move from homelessness to self-sufficiency and learn to thrive again.
Okay.
So it starts with, you know, where did all of this come from? And basically I moved from the Maryland, D.C. area back to Detroit because my father had cancer. And he, you know, he was here alone. You know, he had his sister, which is about his age, and the rest of the, you know, my siblings, we lived in Alabama, Georgia, and I was in a position where the company that I worked for would transfer me here to this area, and I would keep my same pay. And then he offered for me to go back to school, and you know, he's like, my God, you're raising your two brothers, you're doing all of these things, why don't you come back here, stay with me, get back in school, and you know, do what you really want to do, because you're working 60, 70 hours a week, and you're doing all these things. I can support you through this transition. And I said, okay, that sounds like a great idea. He did a lot of smoozing there and talked my brother into coaching me into making the move. I said, okay, I'm coming home. I hadn't been here since I was 12 years old. And so when that move took place, my father's cancer situation caused him to go through a lot of things in his own mind, where he was thinking, you know, I guess he was kind of, you know, thinking that I was coming to take over his home, coming to take over his life, and he wanted to maintain his independence. And so he was just going through a lot of things, and he ended up telling me I had to leave after a few months. And I didn't have any resources or people that I knew. The company that transferred me back here went out of business. So that January, they closed their doors, and I was just working part-time while I was in school to become a massage therapist. This was in '99. And I can tell you that it took about 3 years after that point for me to become homeless, because there were several things, but that was the major catalyst. And in the story that I wrote about in the book, I shared the life principles that I embraced during that period of time. And I take it as a wonderful thing. I don't take this whole situation of homelessness as being a doomsday, like some people think homelessness is the end. It was like the beginning of a new life for me, because it caused me to go back inside and reflect on all that God had given and provided for me throughout my life, all of the different challenges he had allowed me to step over and conquer. And during that period of time, I just became stronger and stronger in my faith.
Okay.
I became closer and closer to the people that God has sent me here to serve and support.
Okay.
And so my ministry and my mission became more clear to me in that homeless shelter than it had ever been in my entire life.
Great.
And so I shared that story because I wanted other people who were experiencing any type of life transition. It doesn't have to be homelessness. It could be a divorce. It can be, you know, losing your job and changing careers. It could be retirement.
Exactly.
I mean, all of those are life transitions. And if you haven't experienced them before, then you're going to have to go through some shifts and some changes. And so that's what this book lays out for those type of people.
So being, and I hear you say being homeless, you still had hope. You never really gave up. Although you were homeless, you still had a faith, something that you believed in, something that you trusted in. You knew that one day, you know, although you were in this situation today, your faith, you saw the future. You saw things. You saw you getting back on your feet. I don't know if you could ever imagine your life would be like it is today with all the things that you're doing today. But I know, you know, I understand, you know, being hopeless or, you know, some people just stay there, you know, instead of having that faith, knowing that you know that you know that you know that one day, even though you don't see it, you know, you believe it, you walk in it. So that would get me to a little bit of talking about how you visualize. You told me about how you were going to places and looking at places even when you had nothing. You were going looking, you know, at your homes where you would live, what the things you would do. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, for sure. And I do have to say there was a period of time that I did. It was so dark that I was hopeless, and it only lasted for a short period of time. It lasted long enough for me to almost drive off a bridge, and God,
thank you, Jesus.
God saw that this wasn't the day and the time, and he helped me to shift the car, and I ended up in the parking lot of a church. I didn't even know where I was, and I was crying profusely, and on the radio it said, if you've ever thought about killing yourself or anything like that, call this number.
Wow.
And I called the hotline number, and that was a major, major shift because that allowed me to get on medication because I had become depressed to the point to where I didn't, when I looked in the mirror, I didn't even see myself.
Thank you, Jesus. I understand.
And so that dark place did occur, but I did still have something to stand on because I was raised in the church. My grandmother kept me there, and I knew that that wasn't something that God would want for my life. So thank God I did have that reflection, and I did get that message, even through the radio.
Amen.
Hey, call this number and get some help.
Gotta use a rock.
Hey, that's what I'm saying.
Yes, he will.
But the reinvention process, I moved downtown because I saw the things that were going on in the city of Detroit. I saw, because think of it as being an outsider coming back. You know, I'm coming into a city where when I moved back, it was like seeing, what do you call those things in the old Western movies where you see tumbleweeds walking, you know, rolling through the city.
Right.
That's what it seemed like to me. It was like, oh my God, this deserted place. That was in '99. But then I saw something bigger and greater in the city of Detroit. So I said, I want to be in the midst of it. And the midst to me was downtown. So I moved into this place called the Leland. And if you've never been there before, I'm going to just tell you, it is a place, it's a hotel / apartment complex, lots of transient people who are just in major, situations, people who have drug addictions and they can't find another place to stay, people who, there's a mixture of strange people there. And this is where I lived, and I was in the heart of the people who needed me most. But I was transitioning and being healed myself, but I could look out of the window and see the riverfront condominiums. And the riverfront condominiums was the dream that I was having in the homeless shelter of my home on the river. I knew I could look out the window and see the river because it brought me peace. It made me feel so good. So I would go there, and the people in the sales department knew me so well that they would just toss me the keys when I walked in the door. Oh, you know where the model is. I'd go there and sit down on the floor, and I'd stand around in my kitchen as if I was preparing food and everything in my kitchen. And what happened was a gentleman at the DIA where I worked part-time, He read my book. When I wrote the Thank God for the Shelter book, he said, I want a copy. He read it. He said, in the last chapter, it says that you wanted a condo on the river. He said, do you have something in mind? I said, yeah, I got a condo on the river in mind. I'm going to move down in Riverfront. He's like, well, how much does it cost? It was like $160,000. He's like, okay. And he didn't want to deter me or anything. I said, I'm getting my credit straight. I'm paying my bills off. I'm doing what I got to do so I can get that condo. He said, well, I got a condo. You know, do you mind if I show it to you? I'm like, no, I don't mind. And when I went there, he said, what is it that you liked about the other condo? I said, it's the beautiful hardwood floors. He said, does it? I said, didn't have a direct view, but it had a mirror. The wall was a mirror that reflected. And this is what my condo that I purchased from this gentleman for only $6,000.
The one I was in like last month where you gave me my massage where I could look at the water. That one. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I know.
Yes.
$6,000.
$6,000, and I was able to pay cash for it.
Wow. Look at God.
Never would have thought years ago that was possible.
And you kind of invented yourself into that. You were looking, you were believing, you were trusting, you were walking, you talked it. You didn't just talk about it, you were being about it. And God has just truly blessed you. Beautiful place because going in there, I've always wanted a place off the water. So, you know, but I was talking about moving to North Carolina and going to Florida. Then I went into your place like, Lord, do you really want me to stay here?
Like, I can get all that right here.
Yes, yes. And where is that man with the condo for $6,000? You know, because that was just a great thing. So let's talk a little bit about your second book. Then this is The Art of Reinventing Yourself. So tell me what this book entails. Where did it come from, and what is it? You know, tell us about it.
It does come from that whole concept of how do you reinvent yourself after experience a major trauma or just life experience. And so in that process, like you said, going and being a part of what it is that you desire in your life, virtualization, like putting yourself in the midst of it. Even if you don't have the money or see how it's going to happen, just get in the middle of it and just see yourself there, experience it. Because if you don't believe it, if you don't believe it's possible, then there's no way it's going to come to you in the first place. So that's a part of the reinvention process, is virtualizing and being a part of what it is that you desire for your life. Another part of it is speaking it. Another part of it is writing it, like journaling and taking the time. The word says to write the vision and make it plain. And we tend to not write because for some reason in the back of our minds and in our heart of hearts, we don't believe that it's possible because it's too far-fetched. But I believe through my process and through people that I've seen all over the world make this happen, that as you write that vision and make it plain, then it begins to manifest. And so that is a part of the reinvention process as well.
Yes, and I truly believe that because I started journaling in 1984 and I still have all of my journals. When I look back at 84, I was in such a, I'm not going to say that it was dark, but yeah, the light wasn't on. And I was in a relationship and I didn't really want to be there, but I never saw myself coming out. So I just started to journal. As I look back now, when I go back and look, you know, that book, it wasn't saying, you know, Lord help me. It was just talking about all the bad that was going on. Every, you know, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But as I look at the books, now everything that I start with, it's like, Lord, I thank you. Lord, I love you. Thank you for this day. I have more hope today. You know, I have my eye on the prize. You know, I understand who I am and whose I am today. So, you know, back then I was letting situations and circumstances rule me. But today I know that I am the master of everything that I survey. You know, and that if God be for me, no devil in hell could be against me. And if I'm just keeping my mind on the positive, you know, I try to keep my mind focused on the things that I know God wants me to do. How can I help somebody else? Not always focusing on me, because a lot of times when I'm going through things, if I take my mind off of my situation and then focus on somebody else that needs help, then my situation always seems to work itself out, you know, and I've just focused on helping somebody else.
That's true.
You know, the art of reinventing, I'm definitely, well, this will be my copy, you know, all of these, as a matter of fact, you know.
Like, I need all of the above.
I will keep it, you know, because I want to share it with people. I want to bless somebody else, because there are a lot of people and that may not be homeless.
Right.
As far as a house, but they're homeless in their, you know, in their being. It's something about them that they're losing themselves, and they really need to find a way out. It happened for you. You know, God has blessed me. I always tell my story about where I've come from, you know, so I've been in a dark place as well, you know, where I felt like, you know, the whole world was against me. And you know, again today, just like you, I wanted to commit suicide, and God stopped me from doing it. Thank God that He did. You know, I really thank God that He did, because the life that I'm living today, you know, I don't have it all together. I don't have it all together, not professing that I do, but
compared
from where I was to where I am now, and with the naysayers, people said you ain't gonna be nothing, you're never gonna do nothing, you know.
It's miraculous. That's exactly
really
what it is.
It really is, and I'm just grateful for all the things that, you know, God has done. So I want to talk about, because you're everywhere. You know, like I said, I was in your place, massage therapist. We'll get to your social media in a minute, but you were Verizon. We are proud to recognize you as one of Detroit's everyday heroes. Your ordinary is extraordinary. You know, Versandra Kennebrew. So you were. How did this come about?
Well, it's really awesome. One of my massage clients that works for the city of Detroit, she sent in a, I guess it was an essay talking about the work that I do in the community to help entrepreneurs to upgrade their technology and social media so that they can share their messages with the world. Kind of like what you do even with this show. Because it would be one thing to make this show only available to the members of this congregation or to the people in Detroit. But to share that message with the world, it requires things like social media, that allows you to free of charge share this show. I mean, it's the masses. Everybody has access. And in the past, this was not something that was available to your typical entrepreneur. And so now, in today's day, because of the digital divide and it being so great in the Michigan area, it's actually greater here than it is in so many places. If you go to New York, Chicago, and places like that, you'll see everybody's on some type of mobile device. They're doing everything. They're able to, you know, tap into information. They're learning, they're sharing, and all of those things. But in our area, it tends to be just a gossip type tool. People are just telling you about what they did today, who they was hanging out with last night, and they're not using it as a resource and a tool to help them to advance their businesses. So I do this on a regular basis with a monthly meetup. It's a membership-based program, so it allows these entrepreneurs to come in at a low-cost amount, so they don't have to pay the $125 an hour to receive coaching. They're paying only $24.97 a month, and they're getting ongoing coaching for an entire year. I show them how to use this tool, how to write their messages, because it has to be clear and concise messaging too. You can't just say, well, I want to kind of do, I mean, nobody understands that. So you have to get clear and concise. You have to have your, and so I help them to do that. I help them to share these messages using Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, adding video, audio. And so now people have a much greater reach, and it doesn't cost them as much money to make it happen. So that's what I was being recognized for, is that work that I'm doing in the community there. But if you can just allow me for a second, I want to go back to the art of reinventing you just for a moment, because one of the things I talk about in this book, because this book is really about case studies. These are case studies of people who have received coaching from me. And the key is having a partner. You cannot do it alone.
Like
no man is an accountability partner.
Okay.
You want to make sure that someone else touches and agrees with you as you are moving forward in your vision.
Yes.
And for some people that are really strong and rooted and grounded in the church, they have that person and several people that are in their church congregation that supports them. But we have to realize that everybody doesn't have that. Everybody doesn't have a church home. Everybody doesn't have, you know, their person in ministry and stuff that's supporting them and praying with them along the way. So it's important for them to get an accountability partner who supports their vision and who will kind of coach them through, someone who's been there, done that.
Exactly.
And that's why I call myself the reinvention coach and not just a life coach, because my process is about who you are today, where do you want to be tomorrow? And so who do you need to be in that place to receive what you want to receive tomorrow? Because if you're not ready, like the people that win the lottery and they're broke in a couple of years because they didn't know what to do when they got the money. If you're not prepared, then you'll lose it all anyway. So you have to be prepared to receive God's blessings.
Well, let me just say this, because you know you bring a lot to the show, and then I love your energy. You just said about people that don't have a church home. That's when you come to Greater Southern Missionary Baptist Church at 8000 Fullerton. The Reverend Daryl S. Moore. I have to give my pastor a plug.
That is for sure.
Because we are a church of love where incredible things are happening. But it is so true about, you know, you talk about people, you know, retirement, you know, well, I thank God, you know, people get sick of me saying that I'm retired, but I'm just so excited about it because, you know, I retired on the 30th of March, but I was able to walk out reinvented. You understand? You know, God had already given me a vision about what he wants me to do. And it's, you know, clearly it said it's not about you, but it's about the masses. So I need you to bring information to the people. You know, when we talk about this city, this state, you know, who's going to make a change? It's not going to be our mayor. It's not going to be the city council. It's going to be the citizens of this great city coming together, doing things much like you and I are doing, you know, and touching the small people, because the small people will make the big people. You know, we're the consumers. We make the money. We put our money out, and the big businesses reap. You know what it is that we're doing. But it takes the smaller person getting themselves together to, you know, help the city thrive. You know, because if the city could come back with the big people already, then we would be already made. You know, but it's going to take each of us. Thinking different, doing different, being a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. So I'm really excited. You know, I guess that's why I'm still here, and I want to be a part of the recovery of Detroit. You know, I remember the Detroit that I grew up in. You know, and I think that it is a great city. I think that sometimes the people of this great city are the ones that, you know, give us a bad name.
Exactly.
So there's good and bad in everything, you know, but we just have to speak life into the people who have heard that they're bad, you know, because I've been in a place where people told me, again, that I would be nothing, but, you know, did I want to live the life I was living, you know, or did I deep down inside have a hope that things would change for me? I don't think people wake up in the morning and say, you know, I'm just bad and I want to be bad. You know, I think people want to know, and they don't know what they know until they know.
Exactly.
You know, so
you know, this subtitle is Ignite Your Imagination, and the reason why I made that so clear on this book is because I believe that imagination is a part of the process of reinvention, because if you stop dreaming, if you stop imagining, which is what's happening to some of those people you're discussing right now, they have stopped dreaming and hoping and imagining. And when they were kids,
they had
the biggest imagination. They can see themselves as doctors, lawyers, and all of these great things. And all of a sudden, life took a toll on them, and they stopped dreaming. And so it's like, what do you do to kickstart that imagination again? And that's another reason why virtualization is so important, because if you get in the midst of what it is that you desire, being a part of it and engaged in it, like say for instance, on the date that I released this book, 11/11/11, I was so happy on that day. I got a limousine to come and pick me up and take me to the book signing. And it's not because, oh, I want to show that I'm rich or anything. I'm showing that if this is the lifestyle that you desire,
exactly,
even if today you can't afford to have this lifestyle, experience it at least once, so that in your heart it starts to bubble up in you, and you start, everything that you do starts to take you into that place. Oh, that's gonna be me. And guess what? It was so funny. I didn't even have to have cash to get the limo.
Oh, really?
You know why? Because I recognize that resources, people are resources.
Exactly.
I have friends that own limousines.
All right.
I have friends who are millionaires that have mansions that let me come in and stay in their guest rooms and stuff so that I can visualize my own, you know, mansion.
I got you.
You know, so I don't have to have it for me to virtualize it and experience it. The resources are all around you. So you have to tap into those resources. I remember going to the Jaguar dealer on my birthday a couple of years ago. XK, that's what I want, the Jaguar XK. And I went there, I sat in the car, I test drove the car, I took pictures in the car, because that is going to be another dream that's fulfilled. That's one of my desires. There you go.
Exactly, because my daughter just opened up a hair salon. Bashima's Hair Salon. I don't know the address. It's on Grand River, but if you want your hair to look good, you should be going to her.
Like yours. Fabulous.
Thank you very much. But, you know, started off a little girl in the basement doing hair, you know, worked at every shop there is probably in this great city, but never gave up on her dream of one day opening and owning her own shop. So, Versandra, I want you to look into that camera. I want you to talk to somebody that is going through something today that feel like, you know, their dream is never going to come true. I want you to tell them, you know, just give them a little bit of your wisdom, and then I want you to tell people how they can get in touch with you as well. In that camera.
What I can tell you is that you are not alone. That's the very first thing that you have to understand, is that you are not alone in this process. There are people around you that have experienced what you are going through at this very moment. And they are waiting with open arms to share with you how to move and transition from where you are to where you want to be. It's really just simply about you reaching your arms back and receiving what it is that they have to offer to you. You cannot feel as if this is a prideful thing and you don't want anybody to know what you're going through. Kind of like what I was experiencing when I was homeless. I didn't want people to know. So every day I got up and I worked. Even if I worked for free, I got up and I worked because I wanted someone to see that no matter what I was going through, I could still shine the light of God, and everybody can see that, and God will be glorified. Even in your darkest hour, you can glorify God. So what I want you to do is, at this very moment, just close your eyes and just imagine God just covering you right now with his light, his shining light of love, just filling you up, letting you know from the top of your head to the sole of your feet that you are his child and that he is protecting and loving you unconditionally, no matter where you are in your mind, because it's just in your mind. It's not reality. Everything that you think you're going through is just a test to prepare you for bigger and greater things. You are not alone, and God is your source. He has everything. You have everything because you were made in his image. He made you in a way that you would have all of those great things that he has offered to this entire world. They are all yours. You are not alone. That is the most important thing.
Thank you. So tell them, how can they get in touch with you? If they want to, your social media, if they want to get in touch with you about getting a massage, if they want to get in touch with you about buying the book, what is the number, internet site, or how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, well, the very easiest is dial 313-443-2571. Again, that's 313-443-2571. 2571. When you call that number, I will be able to direct you either to a website. You can go to Amazon.com, of course, and download the books immediately on demand, and you can watch it or read it right there from your computer, from your Kindle, whatever device you might have. You can go to the library and get the book. I made sure it was accessible to people who didn't even have cash. If you got a library card, you can go to the Detroit Public Library. There's about 3 branches that have Thank God for the Shelter. And if you're on Facebook, which let's see, 800 million people are, you can go to, just put in Versandra and put it in the search bar, and you will find all of my sites. I have several because I have several products. But if you get connected on my page, I share resources from all over the city and all over the state that can help you to reinvent yourself and move to the next level. Okay.
Well, thank you so much again for sitting down and sharing this information with me.
Thank you.
I will be seeing you next month,
That's
for my massage. And to my public, to my fans, I want to thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, from my beating heart to your beating heart, I love you. You understand? Okay.